What is it? What is it? What is it? I am so pregnant. So pregnant. Oh my god, I'm so pregnant. I'm like a balloon. Hi. I teach something that doesn't even exist. As I was saying, I teach something that does not exist. I teach something that doesn't have a sound to people who make sounds, to singers. Have you ever stopped to consider that language is in fact soundless? Language is a code. Language is a way that nations have to mold their thoughts. To mold their thoughts both acoustically and visually through the orthography, and not necessarily the sound part and the written part have a lot in common. One thing is the language, and the language is a code, and each nation has their own. But is language, necessarily audible? Not necessarily. We can look at a writing in a language we don't understand, in an alphabet that we've never seen, and we understand that that's a code. We understand that for someone what we're looking at may mean something, even if it doesn't mean anything for us. I have been posting and reposting this video of Harvard neuroscientist Jill Bolte-Taylor. It's a TED Talk. She's a brain scientist who had a stroke herself. She had a brain hemorrhage, and she had a brain hemorrhage in her left brain. I will not even say left side of the brain. Neuroscientists talk about the left brain and the right brain because they are two separate entities. So the left side is the side of the language, and she lost that, as she perfectly described, as during her stroke she could not either speak language or understand language when she finally got to dial a phone number. That's a very interesting video, My Stroke of Insight. And on the other side, she just heard, she heard something that did no longer correspond to a language, to a comprehensible code for her, because she had the stroke on her left side. And she herself went because she couldn't no longer conceive words. Yet she could emit a sound, so she did bark something, and she heard a sort of barking. Only that sound no longer had a shape for her, and therefore no longer had a meaning. Which means that language and sound not necessarily go together, because we can emit sounds, even vocalic sounds, okay, or vowels are sounds, correspond to a sound, but not all sounds correspond to a vowel. So we can emit a sound, the same sound may be a vowel in a language and absolutely nothing in another language. We take for granted that language is something audible, but language is something completely abstract. It's just a code that not necessarily comes with sound. Sound and language are not produced in the same brain. They do happen simultaneously, as I have said in other videos, like, the Chinese shadow. When you want to do the Chinese shadows, you have a light, a sort of light like this one, and then you have, for example, your hands, you have an object that you make a shape with. a rabbit or a dog, and then you need to have a screen or a wall, a third entity. But in this process, the light stays the light. I do not touch the light. I do not touch the bulb. You know, the light source keeps doing whatever it would have done if the hands weren't there. But the hands are there, so the fluxes, the source of light is untouched and not concerned by the process. Okay? But the waves are molded by this obstacle that they meet. And when they meet this obstacle, they give way to a third entity, which is the projected shape that, by the way, does not resemble at all the shape given by the hands. These three entities, the light source, which in sound is the sound wave source, and so the voice itself, okay, the light source, the shape we give to that source of light, but we don't actually give it to the source of light. Basically, the source of light meets this shape and gives birth to this third entity, which is at its own time separated by the mother and father. Okay? So they are two things that exist independently and simultaneously and give way to a third independent entity, which is in singing, in Chinese shadows, it's the projected shape that the audience receives, and in singing is the sung word. So the sung word is the product of a source of waves and a shape that either reflects or resounds with that vibration, that independent vibration. Italian vowels are, first of all, just 7, and they're pure. They are not work in process vowels. They're not O, A. They are A, E, I, O, U. They come in a circle, as I showed in my other video on vowels. So if we start from any of them, in a circle we can get to any other, even either clockwise or counterclockwise. So let's start from any one, like O, the open O. Okay, if we go narrow, we will go O, and back to the O. If we go large, if we go light, okay, narrow and dark or large and light, we will go and back. Okay, but we could do that circle starting from any vowel. Think of words such aiuola in Italian, or aureola, that describe a circular shape, aura, aurea, that describe a circular shape and basically include all of these vowels. They carry in the significant, the meaning, in the significante, il significato. So basically what I teach to my students is nothing. What I teach to my students is an idea. I show them these Canova shapes, these Canova statues, and the type of light that they reflect, and they just have to imagine them when they are producing their voice, because the matching of those shapes, of those statues, with the emission of a sound wave gives birth, like in Helmholtz's experiment, to sung vowels. The reason why opera was born in Italy was that Italy had these seven they were few, they were still, they were no work in progress, so they could perfectly carry a sound and make it vibrate of a very peculiar vibrato, of a very peculiar light that had the characteristic of, with its steam, of immediately linking the preceding syllable with the following one, giving way to this legato. All music terminology is in Italian: legato, staccato, pizzicato, piano, forte, crescendo, whatever, because music is basically molded on the characteristics of the Italian language. So what I teach is nothing, is an idea, but that idea, okay, when it meets light, when it meets a wave, suddenly gives way to this third entity, which is the sung word, il canto, possibly il bel canto.
Verdienst am Bass, Brille more like your more. Es zwingt mich in die Knie, denn der Rhythm ist hardcore. Wir shaken, was wir haben, bis morgens 7 Uhr. Woanders gibt's ne Sperrstunde, bei uns die Müller vor. Dampfraum war ein dickes Rohr, kommt dann schon mal vor. Und blasen dicken Smoke bis an den Tor. Dickes Boom an der Spree. Im Sommer tiefste Hut und im Winter tiefst weh. Mach Berlin, Bad Stein und Benzin. Berlin